So today I have another quick update on the price of Bitcoin and Ethereum and a little bit of astrology. So on Patreon, we recently covered the recent lunar return that Bitcoin had on August 15th, as well as Ethereum's lunar return, which happened on August 10th. And so definitely check those out on Patreon in the link in the description if you want to see what those are about and what the astrological predictions are. Um, but generally speaking, August seems to be a good month for cryptocurrencies, especially late August. And in fact, on August 1st on Patreon, um, I called the prediction that we would hit at least 25,000. And if we went further than that, we would go to 27,000. But I said at 25,000 would be a level that I would take some profits. And sure enough, that was the peak. So we had an accurate call on Patreon just using the astrology. On August 14th, which was the day before Bitcoin's lunar return, which is what I used to make the prediction, we hit just above 25,000 very quickly, and then it quickly got sold down, and we were unable to cross that level. In the previous update, or the previous technical analysis video, what we talked about was the fact that we were going to retest this white trend line right here on the price of Bitcoin. And that is because of that triple top formation at 25,000 that I was talking about. And given the astrology and the fact that there was heavy Saturn energy on the ascendant at the time that Venus transitioned into a new sign, into the sign of Leo, and Saturn's all about limitations and resistance, I knew there was going to be a lot of energy of financial limitation, especially when it came to Bitcoin and to cryptocurrencies, because Saturn right now is in the sign of Aquarius, which is all about technology. It's all about the internet. And the ruler of Aquarius is in Taurus right now, which is why I'm so adamant about cryptocurrencies, is because right now we're going through a financial revolution and financial opportunity. So those that get in early are going to capitalize from the change of society that's going to happen later on and the move towards better technologies. So with that being said, we can remove these three circles that represented the triple top formation. But whenever, the price keeps hitting a certain level multiple times, it becomes a stronger signal for a turnaround. And so at that point, when we were at this top, I called for a retest of this trend line. And where we left off in the last video is that, first of all, we would either bounce from that trend line, as seen by the gray arrow, or if it didn't hold as support, we were going to come back down and retest this secondary trend line that's forming. But generally speaking, we're going to get more than likely a higher low, because we are in an uptrend at this time. And why I've been buying altcoins such as Ethereum whenever the price of Bitcoin goes low, and whenever it presents itself as an opportunity, and then from time to time I'll sell them when it increases. But for the most part, I got into Ethereum in early July. So I'm already bought in, I'm already in profits, and I'm just waiting, for the next level up to continue selling. But I took some profits at 25,000. But not everything, because I don't try to time the top, I don't try to sell everything at once. That's a sure way to miss out when things don't go your way. You just want to manage your risk, take profits gradually, especially if the signs are showing that we are in an uptrend like we are now. But with that being said, what we're seeing is that sure enough, this trend line did bounce. So let me show you why. At the time, of August 16th, which was yesterday, we see this wick, early actually in the morning on the 17th, which is late at night for those that live in the Western Hemisphere. We see this big wick. And at the time, it looked like a bounce, but it was just a fake out. So look, we touched the trend line. We went a little bit under it. And then it started looking like we were rallying over the course of the next few hours. But then we had a sudden like dump down through. So there was opportunity to sell at this 888 fib level, which is a technical point that you can take profits. And I'll make it a little bit more clear. 888, whenever the 888 is touched, that's like a reasonable level to take profits, especially in a short-term Fibonacci pull like this, because we're just doing a pull from the recent lows to the highs of right now. But since we project things to go higher in the long term, it was also not a bad idea to hold on to what you have already, because likely we'll be crossing higher than that. Anyway, we broke through this trend line, and now what I'm projecting is retesting this, or testing this bottom one right here around the 0.702 fib level, which is right smack dab in the middle of the golden pocket, which is between the 618 and the 786. So that's, a good buying opportunity, especially in a bullish scenario. In fact, right at this moment may not be a bad opportunity to buy it either, especially in hindsight. If we bounce and continue to move higher, which is what I project. With that being said, though, we haven't yet retested this trend line, but I believe that around 23,000 or 22,900, actually at this point, 23,000 or 23,100 is an ideal level for us to expect a reversal in the price. And if that level gets hit, the altcoins are also going to drain quite a bit in comparison. So they're not going to drain like all the way. They're going to drain like in terms of a little bit of percentage. And so I guess the next thing that we can talk about is Ethereum, because there's some important stuff that I'm seeing in this chart as well. So let me go ahead and load the Ethereum chart that I have the signals on. So in Ethereum, we see a head and shoulders formation, which is a typical bearish formation. So whenever we start to get one shoulder, like one peak, a higher peak, and a flat kind of sideways motion at the top, and then back down, and then another sideways movement, this is a bearish formation. So what we could project is, another arm, another downwards movement, which is what ended up happening. It doesn't happen 100% of the time. Say, for instance, like we see with this red candle right here, this red wick. If the price of Ethereum had went up and held up here, then it may have invalidated this formation. But we see that it, came back to fruition. And so the next valid level that we're likely to retest on Ethereum is this 1800 level, this 382 fib. And then probably a little bit below that. So we're probably going to hit this trend line, this red trend line right here. That would be, an ideal place to retest. And I have a buy order down there to buy more Ethereum if we do hit that level. We see that we haven't hit that yet, so it's reasonable to expect some more downside until we at least wick down and touch this trend line. So not a bad idea to put some buy orders there. Now you see this red dot, this red line right here. This is the projected level that we should retest based on the pattern. Like if we use the pattern, technically speaking, and we measure from the top of the head and shoulders to the breakout point or to the shoulders, and we add that, or we subtract that from the right shoulder, that should give us, about the technical level that this pattern should, bring us to, or like pressure the price down. And we see it takes us to about 1744, 1745. So, I mean, at 1750 or anywhere around that level, that's a fantastic buying opportunity if you've been wanting to get in Ethereum and you haven't already, and you want to capitalize on the uptrend and the potential move higher. But with that being said, like I expect a lot of pressure and a lot of resistance at this trend line right here, because Ethereum is just so bullish. It refuses to move down easily at this time. And, it's very volatile. For example, in this candle, we had an increase from 1824 to a high of like 1870 in a 1 hour period, or actually a 4 hour period. So like, anyways, that's like a $50 increase. So anyway, it's quite volatile and it wants to move up quite bad. So this trend line is a pretty safe bet. And down here would be an excellent buying opportunity in the bullish viewpoint of things. Now, what we can see is between these two dashed lines, which I'm going to make more clear here. This was a channel that we were trading in for Ethereum, an upwards channel. And we see the price ranges between those two, occasionally breaks out and then gravitates back towards it. Right here, we broke above it and then gravitated back into it, and it played as support for the most part until this red trend line where things, the support kind of got elevated a little bit. So what we're seeing right now is that with this head and shoulders pattern, we've now re-entered this channel. However, we're entering in a sort of wedge here because this trend line is acting as resistance, and then obviously the top of this channel, which is the dashed line, is also a previous resistance and support level. So as we move, close to the end of this trend, we're going to have to, break out in one of two directions. So, and the move is going to be quite strong, more than likely. Technically, a upwards wedge like this is a bearish pattern. So if we don't bounce from here and break out of this wedge soon, and things continue to stagnate, this could invalidate our current prediction and our current sentiment of the price of Ethereum perhaps hitting 2,200 by early September. And at that point, we might continue to retest lower, or kind of range in this 1,700 to 1,800 range. But to conclude this video and to summarize, in terms of Bitcoin, what I project is that the price of Bitcoin will retest the 23,100 level which we see on this chart. And, you know, a great opportunity or like a nice level to retest would be this trend line right here, right underneath the $23,180 level that we see at the 702 fib. And likely it will be a quick touch, a quick bounce, because there's a lot of pressure already upwards. You know, this wick refuses to, you know, touch and refuses to go down, at least right now. So, you know, there's a lot of bulls that still believe in this rally that we're in, and they want to get in. You know, they want to capitalize. They don't want to miss out, so they're not waiting. And in terms of Ethereum, what we should project is the bottom of this head and shoulders technical level could be a great buying opportunity, but with the bullishness of ETH, the 0.5 fib level is a more, you know, likely level that we may touch and retest that, especially because I believe there's another trend line right here that catches Ethereum on one of the charts that I had. So I'll have to load that. It's the previous chart that we were just looking at, where we see this red trend line, and I'll have to get rid of this candle, or I mean this line, but this trend line and this 0.5 fib. So around at $1,800 Ethereum, that's good prices right now. Now if we break through this, 1750 is fantastic, because likely we'll gravitate back up to the top of this channel or back to this trend line pretty quickly. And yeah, we'll have to see what happens next. But in April, or not April, August, end of August, we're forecasting bullish energy. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys watching. I hope this was insightful, and I appreciate you guys supporting in any way that you do. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to this channel, and check out the Patreon if you're interested in hearing the combination of astrology, prediction, and financial markets, cryptocurrencies. And if you'd like also access to cryptocurrency affirmations and subliminals that I'm creating that are really meant to increase your financial abundance and financial mindset, while also being part of a community, or like basically being part of a channel of information where I'm posting, you know, about different financial opportunities, basically in the prices and in the charts. And if you want to make some extra money, then that's definitely the place to be. So definitely check out my Patreon if that interests you. In the next post on there, we'll be talking about the new moon in Virgo and how that's going to affect the cryptocurrencies, how that's going to affect the chart of Bitcoin. It's looking very good for Ethereum from what I've seen already. And I'll be talking about all the aspects in the chart. And furthermore, we're going to be talking about when we can expect this bullish energy in Ethereum to slow down based on the astrology. So that's the topic that I am currently looking to talk about in the next post. So hope to see you guys there. And with that being said, I'll talk to you guys sometime soon in another video. Peace.